Hey guys, what's up? So this is a solo episode of Griot of the Diaspora. I'm gonna go over some current events, some trending topics, and some unpopular opinions on pop culture. Also, if you haven't already, there are episodes 1 through 4 already posted on the website. Those are interview episodes. And so this is the first solo episode. So I'm really excited. I'm glad you guys are here. Please look out for these solo episodes bi-weekly. Every other week, I'm going to go over some trending topics and some current events. And I'm also going to keep posting interviews as well. So stay tuned for everything. All right, so I'm gonna get right into it because there has been a lot of things going on since pretty much June, but really July. Right now we're gonna start with Ghana. There's a lot of stuff going on in Ghana. Recently, a Ghanaian YouTuber was disallowed to move forward as a lawyer after passing the bar due to an anonymous person sending authorities content regarding I'm a Governor's YouTube channel. I'm a Governor is a YouTuber, and I think she's been doing YouTube for a couple years now. And last year, there was this big thing on social media that just kind of like erupted. And so Amma took to Twitter to speak about what happened in November 2022. And Ghana Twitter was fueled with debates regarding Amma's rights to perform law in Ghana. Amma claims that she hasn't been told why she's been disallowed, but she received communication from the Lawyer Association that her content or beliefs are not allowed. Amma is an open queer woman with nose piercings, and many assume that those are enough reasons for Amma to be penalized from practicing law in Ghana. Recently, the Chief Justice G. Tokorno stated in a televised conference that Amma Governor may not be called to the bar in Ghana indefinitely because of her offensive behaviors. The issue with the situation is that Amma claims no one has identified specifically what was offensive or unethical despite receiving a letter of her dismissal in November. So, to make this easier to understand, basically a law student, she took her bar exam, and I believe she also passed her bar exam, but instead of her getting her acceptance letter that she passed, she was told that she wouldn't be able to move forward because of her offensive behavior. And so the speculation and the assumption is that because she's queer, she also openly identifies as queer on social media, on her YouTube, as well as her Instagram and her Twitter. And we are all just kind of assuming that that's the reason why she's not able to perform, which is obviously in alignment with Ghana's anti-LGBTQ bill that I also wrote about on the website. If you want to learn more about what is the anti-LGBTQ bill in Ghana and how dangerous it is. And so because of that bill, there has been like literally every week something new, something going on, some chief justice, some politician making these claims, and the conversation for the LGBTQ community in Ghana is just getting really, really bad. It's getting deadly, it's getting really violent, and it's something that I wish a lot more American and UK celebrities who use Ghana as a brand, I really wish that they would speak a little bit more about it, because there's a reason why a lot of people who are in media, who are celebrities, and who are Ghanaian do not go back home, which for a lot of them is because they're queer. Okay, so off of that story, the next story is David Adjaye. So David Adjaye is the architect who was recently in the news about the sexual abuse allegations that was put upon him by 3 women here in Ghana. And if you also haven't read that or don't know anything about that, go on the website, nikkigoldonline.com, to read more about that. So the David Adjaye updates concerning the name dropping in Ghana government have not spoken on the situation. So basically, David Adjaye sent some documents to the Ghana government regarding his case. And in those documents, he also disclosed the names and the identities of 3 women who brought the abuse allegations upon him. In the original Financial Times article, the women's identity was not disclosed, and they were all under anonymous names that were not real. Well, apparently, the Ghana government has the identities of those women, and there's a possibility that those names and those identities have been circulating around in the media and in Ghana's social circles. Aside from the name dropping, Ghana's government has yet to say anything about it, despite the fact that over 10 museum boards and museum projects that David Adjaye was a part of that have already fired him and terminated him from the positions. He stepped down from multiple positions, but Ghana's government is holding on to David like their golden child. And if you connect this to the story that I just shared, it's really telling that someone who has abuse allegations put upon them, the Ghana government has yet to say anything about it. And that was a story that broke in July. And we're now in August. It's been a month later, and yet there's a law student who will not be able to do law in Ghana because of her sexuality. So I would hate to really believe that abuse of women is more respected than non-heterosexuality. But stay tuned, we're gonna keep talking about it. Okay, so the last story on Ghana is about a student named Derek who was studying in the USA at a university in Ohio, and he recently had his scholarship withdrawn following derogatory remarks and posts directed at the LGBTQ community. His tweets were dug up by activists in Ghana, and the content was sent to his college academic authorities, which included tweets threatening to force non-consensual sex with Governor, the YouTuber that I spoke about 2 stories ago, and other LGBTQ queer identifying people. This is a small win in a bloody fight. Stories are still coming out that queer people are being attacked and people are being accused of being queer in Ghana. The belief that you have to comply to a country's political and social beliefs if you're a visitor is a very dangerous system. The reality is the world is not on an even playing field, and many countries are becoming strict on their LGBTQ laws, which more are leaning on the anti-side. American universities and African universities operate differently when it comes to protecting their students and providing students the opportunity to have freedom of expression. However, we are coming off the recent destruction of affirmative action in America, which proves America is no longer a progressive country either. What's sad about this whole situation is the student, Derek, was on a scholarship which most likely came from a DEI or affirmative action strategy. So basically there was this student named Derek who was on social media, and an activist by the name of Papa Kojo, he dug up all of this information, all of this guy's tweets, and he sent it to his school. He sent it to his university. He told his university, this student that you guys are representing, that you guys have given a scholarship to, is on social media threatening to violently have sexual acts with people and with queer people. And within a week or 2 later, his scholarship was dropped. The email was sent that he would no longer be a part of the university, and apparently he is on his way to deportation. I have no idea. I'm assuming that they're going to cut his visa access, and which is going to force him to have to come back home to Ghana. The sad part about that is, yes, this is a victory, right? That a homophobe is forced to leave America and forced to not benefit from resources from American governments, but it's actually kind of sad because technically he's doing what his country would want him to do, right? If the country and the government is pushing for anti-LGBTQ, then technically he will probably be rewarded, and he won't really be looked at as anything less to the people who agree with him and that believe in what he's pushing. So Let's get out of Africa, okay? And let's get to America since we are already here. So let's get into this really sad story. A young man by the name of O'Shea Sibley was murdered in Brooklyn, New York around July 29th for voguing to Beyonce's music with his friends, seemingly while she was on tour in the East Coast at the time. He was murdered by what are assumed to be Muslim teenagers who made statements that homosexuality is against their faith. I don't have information if they were immigrants or citizens, nor their ages, but based on the video, the murderer and his friends were very young and they looked like they were in their 20s. It's really nauseating how New York has claimed the lives of Jordan Neely and O'Shea Sibley at the hand of non-Black people who feel they can police people on their freedoms. The police and citizens feel they have the power to decide if a Black person's life is free with little to no repercussions. These two stories didn't receive their just due. And I believe because Jordan was claimed to be homeless and O'Shea was gay, those are not qualifiers for the perfect victim. And those qualities do not gain the same rage when perceived as cis hetero young Black boys and men are murdered by the police. You know, this is a situation for me personally is really, really difficult to digest because this is the second case this year of a Black boy being murdered in Brooklyn, okay? Or being murdered in New York, sorry. And the first time it happened in New York, New Yorkers gave the excuse that, oh, New York is this place where we just don't care. We walk over dead bodies on the subway all the time. Oh, it's nothing. Like, oh, he was in a touristy area. Most of those people are racist over there. And I remember reading so many excuses when Jordan Neely was murdered in public daylight on a subway. And I just remember the silence amongst the conversation, because a lot of the conversation was still based on, oh my God, a Black boy died. And oh my God, these white people who are not police officers are now feeling more, they feel like they can kill people and that they can make these citizens arrest or that they can do these things simply because they're white, right? And for me, I'm already upset that Jordan Neely died on a subway in front of at least 20 to 50 people, right? And I was upset that Jordan's homelessness or perceived mental illness or perceived background, I felt like that was the focal point of every media outlet as well as every podcast, honestly. I felt like every podcast that I watched that focuses on popular culture and hip hop and all of that, I feel like you all did a bad job as well. I feel like the reporting on Jordan Neely's story focused so much on him having mental health issues when the reality is that I don't care about people having mental health issues. That should not be the reason that someone needs to be shut up, nor should that be the reason why people care a little bit more. I think that the simple answer is, it is racist. Period, point blank. He didn't kill a white homeless man. He didn't kill the white homeless man that got on the subway smelling like piss, bothering everybody. He didn't kill the white homeless man that sits in the subway that no one tells to leave and he's been down there for 2 or 3 days. He didn't kill that person. He killed someone who was Black, who was perceived as homeless, and suddenly when his murder happened, all of a sudden all these people know all this information about his mom and his home life. How do y'all know all of this information? All of a sudden, when this person dies, all of a sudden it's, oh, I used to see him dance in the subway. I seen him dance before. I've given him money before. Okay, what does that information do for anybody? Because those 50 people who probably also have saw Jordan multiple times in their lives also sat there on that subway and watched that black boy die. And I don't care for the people who didn't know he was gonna die. I don't care for the people who just thought that maybe the white man was going to hush him up for the subway ride, and they were surprised that he was murdered. That's still not enough for me. So New York, I will never forgive you. I will never forgive you or your citizens or the people who benefit from living in New York, the people who sit around and talk about New York's underground culture, the people who sit around and talk about New York's bar culture. Oh, New York's culture, we don't give a fuck. We just don't give a fuck. All of y'all, I will never forgive y'all for that. Because now that O'Shea has now been murdered, and the silence that has been received from everybody in politics, in government, in social people, all of you, I will never forgive you. Okay, moving along. Since we are in America, more American news. Writers and actors are still on strike. The US government admits to aliens and alien aircrafts. Trump speaks ill of Joe Biden during a Trump rally. Rent is high, jobs aren't hiring. Carly Russell lied about her kidnapping, and her ex-boyfriend has club bookings. What else can I really say, right? The US is so unserious. So anyways, me personally, I'm not in full belief that the US government has aliens or alien aircrafts in their possession. Me personally, I do not think that certain groups of people are that smart. And I don't think that, I think that they exist. I don't think that they exist in the way that we have been told. I think that anything that the government of any country has to tell you, I just automatically assume that there is another side of the story that is not being told, and I just don't engage with it. That's just me. Whether aliens are here or not, I don't really know what that's going to help for us. I really personally don't. Okay. I have, let me make this clear before I even start this shit. I have no interest on what I think about this topic. This is not a topic I'm giving an opinion on at all until the settlement comes or the lawsuit begins. But me personally, I am not telling y'all how I feel about it, because really, honestly, I don't feel anything about it. But I am gonna talk about what is going on. So Lizzo is in the news because a few of her dancers have launched a lawsuit against her for sexual abuse allegations, and as well as weight shaming, as well as favoritism, it sounds like. Apparently, Lizzo's dance captain is also a part of the lawsuit as a confidant to Lizzo. The lawsuit details the allegations against Lizzo, claiming she was forceful of sexual engagements at a strip club, and complaints of her dance captain using Christianity to evangelize the dancers, in which it's claimed that Lizzo ignored. There are also claims that Lizzo and her team made comments about some of the dancers' weight. Since this lawsuit has hit the headlines, a plethora of dancers spoke out about their experiences with Lizzo, despite not being a part of the lawsuit. At least 3 other dancers shared to social media to speak about their negative experiences with Lizzo and her dance captain. The dance captain spoke out on social media, which was seemingly filled with Christian rhetoric and no clear implication of her involvement or truth to the situation. So Lizzo responded. She posted like a text box, basically a 4-page text box, and basically, you know, using all of the big words and using all of the emotional words like gut-wrenching and sensationalism, and completely denying that these accusations are true, while also saying that she loves her sexuality, she's open with her sexuality, and also claiming that the people who are speaking out are former dancers who have already been told or admitted as to why they were no longer on tour. Either way, a lot of social media users use this opportunity to fat shame Lizzo and say negative comments about Lizzo's weight in the same manner that they jumped on Chica when she did the whole plane thing with Zanique's children. I don't know, when fat Black people are being positive or negative, somehow their weight always comes into play, which undermines the body positivity movement that was pioneered way before Lizzo, but that Lizzo benefited from. Like I said, I'm not giving an opinion on this situation yet until it comes out. What is the actual cause? Some people feel like these are just disgruntled employees. Other people feel like there's a possibility that Lizzo could very well be this evil mastermind. I don't know. What I will say though, I think it's really interesting the way that Chica received all of that vitriol for the comments that she made about Zanique's children, because regardless of how harsh she was about the kids, I think it's so interesting because I feel like social media was way harder on Chica than they are on Lizzo. And maybe I'll do another episode where I talk about colorism and anti-fatness, because it's something about that experience that is just really, really interesting to me. And yeah, so anyway, a couple weeks ago in a recent social media conversation, Just Hilarious and T.S. Madison found themselves in a situation they did not start. Angelica Ross, Tasha K, Flame Monroe, and Cherry the Boom shared their piece, but let me break down the initial conversation. A trans woman spoke on social media about periods and her beliefs that women do not own periods. Apparently, the context of this video was the inclusivity of non-binary and trans men who have, non-binary people and trans men who have vaginas and menstruation. Unfortunately, the video went viral and was used to stir debates. The problem for me is the language. I think cis women have a problem with the language that is being used to describe the woman experience, whatever they think the woman experience is. Saying women don't own periods, I think is a bigger problem, because the reality is population-wise, right? From what we can assume, cis women are a higher population than non-binary and trans men. So non-binary people and trans men. So the reality is the dominant population will consider themselves the owner of an experience. But the reality is inclusivity should be a welcoming experience where ownership of humanity or human experiences shouldn't be something we even consider doing. Why? Because scientific language, as well as the English language, doesn't have the inclusivity of non-cisgenders and non-heterosexualities, nor the spectrum to positively describe Blackness in our experiences, in our expressions. This topic went viral also because it was off the backs of the bonus hole conversation. Okay, so the bonus hole conversation was a very interesting conversation because it basically took social media by storm in a way that it really wasn't supposed to. And it really was an attempt of language inclusion for doctors who will have non-binary and trans patients. I think people, specifically women, have to understand that the medical industry is already barbaric when it comes to Black women, who are 3 times more likely to die from birth and a myriad of other complications where pain is not considered enough. The non-binary and trans community, while in medical institutions, should have language that allows them to discuss their body parts without using the same words if they don't want to, because their experiences may be different. Also, cis people do not need to be offended if a medical practitioner asks if you are trans or for your pronouns, because it is not an assumption that you are. It is just to be cautious and careful, you know? I don't believe womanhood is something to gatekeep, considering the world our bodies live in. I think that we should be more welcoming and understanding to anyone who is willing to present ideologies that aren't rooted in misogyny, patriarchy, hypersexualization, or oppression. Not all queer people have queer ideologies, but we already live in a world where whiteness and maleness overpower everything. So you might want to decolonize your beliefs if you don't want to sound like a white supremacist. Okay, so the next segment and the last segment is called Unpopular Opinions on Pop Culture. Child, so let's talk about this. You ever put a post up and you start laughing at the people who think it's about them or who start reacting to it, and now you gotta side eye them because you like, well, bitch, maybe a hit dog do holler. First off, African American and African diasporic proverbial languages belong to us. And it is not something that anybody should feel like they have to explain to the whites, okay? We don't have to explain nothing to the whites, period. And so Jennifer, white woman Aniston, first off, who even is that? Anyway, thank God Jamie Foxx is doing fine. He's let everyone know that he's doing better. And that was what Black people around the world needed to know. And we were like, okay, cool. Well, Jamie made a comment on his Instagram story and he said something about, they killed Jesus. What do you think they would do to you? Hashtag fake friends, hashtag fake love, or something like that. And Jennifer White Woman Aniston had the audacity to assassinate Jamie Foxx's character by assuming and then promoting on social media, which is called igniting. And she went to her Instagram to say that she is completely against anti-Semitism, and she accused Jamie's remarks as anti-Semitism. Oh, there's so many things I want to touch on to get on this topic, because first off, I am so tired of particular communities thinking that when we use the word they, that we are, first off, to even think that we are only talking about you is kind of crazy, because we're not only talking about you. We're most likely talking about a plethora of theys, right? It's also funny how in this pronoun culture, how so many people be like, I don't understand pronouns, I don't understand pronouns. But when we bring up Jesus, all of a sudden you understand pronouns. Because when I read it, first off, at no point did I even think a white person was even in the fraction of the conversation. But secondly, when I hear the words, they killed Jesus, a lot of people come to mind. And because I do a lot of research, because of my major, because of my background, because of my education in African studies and Africana studies, I am not one of those people that you can easily sway when it comes to African history. And just like how there's evidence that quote unquote proves what Jesus looked like, there's also evidence that quote unquote proves what Jesus looked like, that come from Black people, that come from African people, that come from ancient people with dark skin. Now, I don't believe in any of it. I think it's all foolishness, and I don't really care for any of it. So that's just that on that. But girl, like, first off, First off, Jamie Foxx should have sent his white girlfriend on Jennifer Aniston and knocked on her door and said, anyway. And also, did Jennifer Aniston like reach out to Jamie Foxx when he was like in the hospital? Did she ever say any well wishes to him, or was it just like, because I can imagine if you don't know Black proverbial language, you probably also do not follow Black media outlets, which makes me kind of believe that she probably had no idea that Jamie Foxx was in the hospital, because if you don't know Black proverbial language, you're probably not reading Black media, you're probably not reading Black magazines, you're probably not watching broadcasters who are Black people, you're probably not watching television, cable, where Black people are the lead. And that's easy to believe because you were a part of the show where there were no Black people. So if we're gonna start questioning things, we should be questioning these white people who think that they are so important to the word they. And as Black people, can y'all stop apologizing? Please stop apologizing. It's like embarrassing at this point that y'all are apologizing. No shade to Jamie Foxx, but like, I can't. Anyway, that is the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said in the beginning, please catch up on episodes 1 through 4. Those are my interview episodes. I'm gonna be doing these solo episodes every other week. So stay tuned for episode 6, and we're out. This is the Griot of the Diaspora.
The Nail Egyptian collection offers a variety of unique press-on sets for all bodies. Each set is hand-painted and authentically designed by a one-woman team. These designs are inspired by queens and goddesses of both myths and reality. You can even choose your sizes from extra small to large, or you can put in a custom request and visit the website today.